Are you ready to move from an ordinary life to an extraordinary one where you meet your business goals, create a life that has success in health, wealth, and for self? Then come and join us for our retreat in Byron Bay, Australia at the end of July, start of August 2025, and come and rediscover who you really are. More details can be found at willowhealing.org.
Welcome to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We are so excited to have you joining us on this journey where we explore different ways to empower your soul, whether it's healing in your kitchen or all the way up in the corporate world. Come with us as we look into different ways to heal your mind, body, and soul. Hey everyone, it's Catherine from Willow Healing, and I have the beautiful Cara Goodwin with us today. So she is a dynamic speaker, podcast host, and author dedicated to guiding others through the profound journey of spiritual awakening. As the host of Soul Elevation, she dives deep into ascension, consciousness, energy healing, and the mysteries of the universe, engaging audiences with thought-provoking conversations and expansive insights. Her upcoming book, Your Authentic Awakening, A Guide to Everyday Spiritual Living, is a transformative guide designed to help readers navigate their spiritual path with clarity and authenticity. Yes, it's so needed. Thank you, Cara. Your Authentic Awakening has received glowing reviews from renowned spiritual transformation leaders such as Maureen St, Germain, Viviane Chauvet, Steinfeld, and Suzanne Ross. Cara's ability to blend deep wisdom with engaging storytelling makes her an unforgettable guest who leaves listeners feeling uplifted and inspired. With years of experience leading retreats, hosting interviews, and speaking on transformative topics, Cara brings warmth, depth, and a magnetic presence to every conversation. Whether discussing practical tools for spiritual growth, extraordinary personal experiences, or the energetic shifts shaping our reality, she captivates audience and sparks profound reflections. So a big welcome, Cara, and thank you so much for giving me your time and your energy and joining me on the show.
Oh, thank you, Catherine, so much. I'm so excited to be here. I love listening to you speak and the profound insights that you're bringing through in your podcast. So it's really an honor to join you.
Oh, thank you, Cara. It's really nice to have feedback. I know you as a podcaster, probably the same thing. You're like, I wonder if this is falling on anyone's ears. So I'm glad it's resonating.
Yeah, well, it's so heartfelt, so it's great to be able to connect with content like what you're bringing forward.
Oh, thank you. So, I guess the question of me, because you are doing all these amazing things, and I resonate so much with all the things, especially the book that you have written, because it's so needed, like tapping into understanding almost like a roadmap, right? Because when you start that spiritual journey, unless you have a really good mentor or someone with you, it can be really scary and really unknowing, and you think you're crazy, right? That's the only way I can describe it. You think you're crazy until you meet someone else that's also experiencing it.
Yes, and it's so true. And I use that analogy a lot in the book of like walking a path or navigating a course, not a course like a study course, but like a path. But yeah, it is. We're in new territory. We're shifting when you start to get onto a spiritual path, you're shifting your understanding of life. You start to see reality differently, and nothing can make you feel crazier than when you start to question the nature of reality. But we actually are living in an illusion, like the physical realm is an illusion. And so it does take it takes work, and it takes understanding, it takes shifting our awareness and our perspective in order to really be able to keep moving forward confidently. And I love what you said. You started by saying that it can be scary. And I think that's really important for people to, I'll validate that, because if people are listening to this, they're already at some way on their path, right? They're not as asleep as the rest of the population might be. But I know when I came to spirituality, I really thought that it was going to just be this uplifting, warm, beautiful path. And I was going to leave kind of the negativity and so forth, the toxicity
Same.
of the real world. And yeah, there is that. there is that. You can't deny that you're in a higher vibrational state or whatever, but there are many lineages and teachers, and I was like this for a long time too, where it's like it just focus on the light, just focus on the positivity, just focus on like the love, and just ignore anything lower, any shadows, any negativity, any lower thoughts that you might have, and just let them, like, don't pay them attention so that you don't feed them. And there's something to be said for that, but it can only take you so far. And when you really do want to come into wholeness, and I believe my personal experience, and I'd be curious to see if your experience has been the same. But 2025 for me, so we're at the very end of February 2025. So we're just like a little big toe maybe in to the year. Maybe we're up to our ankle. But this is still a pretty new year for us. But the a recurring theme in my world, in my reality, is the shadow. And I keep having, and for me, the way that this has shown up is these memories. I've had memories that have just been frozen from decades ago. And these memories have just been popping in, things I honestly completely forgot about that were difficult things I went through. Either, and I mean, they're not like major traumas, but they were hard things, dealing with rejection, dealing with embarrassment, dealing with isolation or abandonment. But I completely abandoned those experiences and froze the version of me that experienced it, because I wouldn't look at it because I thought that I was protecting myself. And I think that did serve me for a time, not to dwell on it and to keep moving forward. But now, as these things are just very organically showing up, just really out of the blue, or sometimes there's just, sometimes they've been triggered even by dreams. I had recently a dream about somebody, and I hadn't forgotten about this person, but I had had a really tricky relationship with this person. And ultimately, we kind of just went our separate ways. And it was like, I could tell it took me a long time not to be triggered by the thought of that person. So I just tried not to think about them. And then I had this dream, and they just looked so healthy, so vibrant, so happy. And then funnily enough, I went on Facebook for I think I actually wanted to just see if they were still on, I think I went with the intention of like, are they still on Facebook? And and I hardly ever go on Facebook, but the post that was at the top was from this person, like just a general post. So it's not somebody that I even like. The rare times I go on Facebook, I don't seek this person out. But they had a post, which was weird. I was like, oh my God, that's bizarre. And I kind of spent some time just like kind of blessing them and just trying to work in the quantum to sort of heal any unfinished tension between us. And a few days later, I got an email from somebody who wanted to become a client who I had never heard of before. She completely came out of the blue, and she had the same name as that person. So I loved that, how that completed kind of that picture, because I'm like, why is this coming in? And it felt like the universe going, okay, this is healed now. You still had work to do to really heal that and really feel glad when that person had good news, or whatever it was that, I was kind of subconsciously holding on to. And so that's, that's just an example of the opportunity that we have when it's like, okay, my conscious mind might be like, well, I don't want to think about that person. I went through a hard time because of that person. But my subconscious is bringing them forth in a dream, inviting me. I don't have to look at it, but it's an invitation to say, okay, maybe you've got something unfinished with them. See what you can do with it. Like, how do you feel when you wake up and you notice that you've been dreaming about this person? Do you get triggered? Maybe there's more work to do there. And then the response from the universe of like, this person completely out of the blue, this new client completely out of the blue, And she just so happens to share the name. And it was like, okay, something is happening here. And I think it is this, I know you're very well aware of energy, and
Yeah.
as we allow these hurt parts of ourselves to unfreeze, give them some love, give them some attention, give them some respect for the ways that they've tried to protect us, we integrate them and we accept them and we say, okay, come in. You've done a good job. You've really tried to help me. And that gets added into the totality of the energy being that we are, so that we then have access to more of ourselves. And it's so, from a energy healing perspective, for example, it just gives us access to more energy that is flowing through us physically, emotionally, mentally, and spiritually. So I'm curious if that resonates with you, and how how you've perceived this year.
Oh, I can't believe it's only February, personally, the end of February. I'm like, really? We haven't done a whole year? Because the amount of things that have come up and I've gone through, and, even the other week I shared on my Instagram, I had a massive breakdown because I was just pushing, 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 pushing. And often it's funny because my coach says, when you have a breakdown, you're about to have a breakthrough, because it's when you can accept and be in that lower energy, but also love it and understand that it's trying to teach you something, that it helps you elevate and move to the next thing. And the most, yeah, and the most amazing thing that my coach said to me, because he's quite spiritual too, but he said, we can't love ourselves completely until we accept the flaws and love them and the triggers as well. So what you were saying, those old memories that come up, I almost feel like, and this came through from my spiritual mentor, she said, because like these things kept coming up for me when I was going through my spiritual awakening, and she said, it's the cobwebs. The cobwebs are coming up and you need to clear them out so that they're no longer triggering in any way for you. And like you said, you think you're done with it, right? And then it comes up again and you're like, oh, obviously I'm not done with this. There's something else that I need to have a look at. And the energy of February, my goodness, right? Like it's just as a collective, as a whole, it's been full on. And anyone that's listening to this, this is probably going to be several months later that this comes out and we're talking. But at the same time, if you look back on February, you'll probably think, yeah, a lot happened then. There's lots of changes coming through. There's eclipses coming up. There's all these bigger energies other than us. And it's almost like we need to go through this initiation phase so that when we get to that April and that true new year, that we can then just step into our purpose and step into our work and not worry about all these other things. So I feel it's almost like an initiation of sort, but a shake up initiation. Like, hey, we're just going to shake out the rest of those things that keep coming up for you. So when they do come up again, you're not even going to notice them. And you're just going to keep marching through and have that courage and keep walking through so that you can truly live that life that you want.
Yes. Well, there are so many things that you said that were really, really profound and powerful. And one of them is the, the preparation, the initiation that you were saying at the end there, because I just had a conversation with somebody recently, and they were talking about, again, in the time that we're recording this, there's going to be they're calling it the planet parade or planetary parade, where tomorrow we'll be in a new moon and we'll have 7 planets, 8 including the Earth, in alignment. And it's a very strong energy that brings forth. And this person was like, well, because there was this video that went along with it, and this person was like, well, basically what the video is saying is, if you're good and you've been living a good life and doing good things, you'll have a good experience. And if you're bad, then you'll have a bad experience, and you'll get back, because you're going to get back to yourself
The karma.
what you're putting out.
Yeah.
And I think that part of what's happening as well is that we are moving out of that dualistic, like good and bad, because I have felt this, like I said, this whole year for me has been about the shadow. And I have historically considered the shadow bad, and I've tried to avoid it. And no, I don't need to give energy to that. I don't need to pay attention to that. It's bad. It's going to lower my vibration, or whatever we want to tell ourselves. But as I've kind of gone through my evolved my understanding about what's happening. Like we were saying, we're actually unfreezing parts of ourselves, like legitimate parts of our energy that is us, and we're integrating it. And that is an amazing opportunity. It's hard. It's hard work. It's scary. It can be frightening because I know that when these memories, as an example, have shown up, my initial response is, don't look at that. Like the minute I recognize it, it's like, oh, don't look at that. You'll get hurt. You don't need to get hurt by that again. And it was recognizing that response, that knee-jerk reaction to look away and bury it and be like, nope, that didn't have that. I mean, yeah, it might happen, but I'm fine. Like it didn't affect me. And it's like, wait a minute, let me be curious about this instinct that I have. And that's fear. I'm afraid of what this is. I'm afraid to look at it. I'm afraid that I'm going to feel the way that it made me feel. That it takes courage and it takes bravery to choose to engage with the shadow. But there are such gifts in there, and that's the point. And so if I look at this planetary opportunity from my perspective, and if I feel like, oh, I'm a person that puts good out there and I really try to help people, and I'm focusing on bringing more divinity into this world, so I should be rewarded, and I shouldn't be punished. But it just depends, like, what are we considering reward and punishment? Like, am I going to unlock more memories that are going to be able to thaw, and I'm going to have access to those, and I'm going to be able to be more of who I really am, which is going to increase my compassion for other people who are going through things that are similar to the hard times I've been through. There are gifts in that, but it's hard and it takes courage. So it just depends how we want to define the gift. But it's also like it's not so black and white. I could choose to say, oh, I'm being punished because these things are coming to me, but I could do that if I want to. But there's another layer to it that I can also embrace.
Yeah, and I guess that's that thing that's been floating around a lot. I don't know if you've seen it, where it says, "Is this happen? Why is this happening to me?" You change it. Why is it happening for me? And you move through that different mindset. And it's funny when you were talking about, those things that you try and push to the back of your brain. I don't know if you've seen the new Inside Out movie, Inside Out 2, but
Yes.
yeah, and what Joy was doing was any memory that she deemed as unfavorable or didn't want to remember, she'd throw it to this back part of the brain. And it was only when she realized that all of that was what made up Riley, and all of that is what made her into who she was, and released all of that into her actual being and accepted it, that Riley could be her true self. And I was like, wow, Disney, this is such a profound, subtle messaging. So if anyone's done that shadow work or worked through it, that was a perfect representation of those parts of us that we bury and we think we're embarrassed by or we don't love. Then we really need to let it come out and embrace the shadow, like you said. And it's not about, oh, it's a lower vibration. No, if you don't feel it and heal it, it'll just keep coming up. And the universe has a thing of amplifying it and turning up the volume every time it shows up. So if you ignore it at the little volume, it's going to get bigger and bigger and bigger. And then you end up in the tragedies and the crazy stuff happening.
Yes, I love that. I love it. And the other aspect to it is the alchemization of changing. So there's something that I just very, very recently, very serendipitously been exposed to in the psychology world called internal family systems. Have you heard of this?
Possibly, but continue.
Okay. So it's again more in the field of psychology rather than spirituality, but it's this, we have all these like aspects of ourselves. They're playing different roles, and they've splintered off from us because of trauma. And everybody has trauma, even if it could be like little traumas, but just by virtue of the human existence, we are all experiencing a range of experiences and responses to experiences. So, but it's like we it's these aspects, these splintered aspects of ourselves that are controlling us during the triggers. And it's whatever matches what we've dealt with in the past. And like kind of I was saying, oh, these aspects of me were frozen, like I wouldn't like nurture them. So you might have like maybe something happened when you were 5 and you experienced a rejection or an abandonment at some level. You felt, even if like it wasn't a huge, like one of my parents left or something, but you felt like maybe somebody moved away, that you never knew your life without that person, and then you never had access to them again, and you felt so abandoned, and it really changed, like it really hurt, but you didn't like get the opportunity to process it all, so you just kind of left it. And then anytime you experience something that kind of makes you feel like something like that might happen again, even if it's not the exact same scenario, but you may feel somebody pulling away from you, that you're worried that you're going to feel that way, that 5-year-old part of you feels. And so you shut down or you react, you get mad, but you do whatever you can to try to prevent yourself going through that again. And by doing this internal family system work, it's not only just recognizing, oh, I've got this is the root of this, like I've got this 5-year-old part of me, but it's getting a better understanding of what its purpose is. So you may be really mad at the way that you respond when you feel like there's an abandonment coming up. Again, in whatever scenario, it could even be like you've talked about your coaches. It could even be like you're coming to the end of a contract with a coach that you've relied upon, and you're starting to worry like, wait, I'm going to be on my own now, and I don't like the way this feels. And then without even realizing and connecting that experience, you start acting out in other ways within your life. But when you're able to identify it and you can bring it in and you can recognize the protection, what it was trying to do. Whereas it's been acting out, it's been lashing out, and you hate that part of you. You hate the part of you that lashes out, that you feel that you can't control because doesn't feel like you. It's like there's this wounded part of you that is in the driver's seat, and it's 5 and it doesn't know how to fly this thing, and it's not doing it properly. It's breaking things all, energetically as it tries to deal with what's happening. But when you can start to explore it, it's like, oh, it's actually been trying to protect me. It's been trying to keep me from feeling that again. So it's not equipped because it didn't keep developing. So it comes out as this demon or as this, bully or whatever it is, however it expresses itself, but it's not like your favorite part of yourself. But when you can actually change and say like, oh, it's trying to prevent me from dealing with something, and it just changes the relationship with it, and then it can integrate so that it's not running the show. It's just part of our energy, and we're working more from that centered place.
And I feel too, this is why it's so important to engage in practices that help you know yourself better, and this is why, I feel astrology has a resurgent, numerology, human design, gene keys, all those things, because once you know how you react or how things don't align. So for example, for me, my human design, when things don't align, I get really frustrated. And that for me was really powerful for going, oh, okay, I'm getting frustrated because this isn't for me. This isn't my purpose, or this isn't aligning with my soul right now. But then I would feel bitterness because I'm quite empathic and can feel other people. And I'm like, hang on, why am I bitter? I don't get bitter. It's like, that's not my thing. And I'm not saying it as a bad thing. It's just I usually get frustrated before I feel bitter. And then I realized, because that is how my husband and my son actually react when things aren't in a line. So I was feeling their bitterness, and instead of being angry about that, it was about being curious about it and then pulling that apart. But if I didn't know that about myself, I would have just entered into that bitter cycle as well and been stuck in that loop. So when you truly get to know yourself, and like you said, we embrace those shadows and have the courage to face them, then when those things come up again, they're there and they never go away because our wounds never fully heal, right? They're always there underneath the surface waiting for the next thing to to rip the band-aid off again. But it's you're more compassionate with yourself, and you give yourself more love and you go, okay, yeah, I do that, and I'm going to push through that and do it anyway.
Yeah, and it'd be an interesting kind of thought experiment. Like, do our wounds remain, or do we have the power to kind of alchemize them, to change them, where it's like the history is still there, like but because we have a new relationship with it, maybe the wound isn't there anymore. So the event is still there, but it doesn't trigger us. And I think that's what true healing is, when we're able to kind of and I do think it's possible to do that. It's not easy, but it is, and it's part of the transmutation, the alchemy, the changing our relationship with it. That is very healing.
Yeah. And it's funny when you were saying that, I got triggered a memory when the first time I went to breath work, I had the most traumatic experience in a good way because it had to happen. But I went through like psychic surgery. I relived all my past life deaths to reclaim my power. And I felt it all, like all of it. I could feel it in my body. And everyone's sharing their experiences. And I'm like, I'm going to be honest, mine was really traumatic. And it actually took me I want to say nearly a year before I was ready to go back again. Because then after that, I'm like, I'm not doing that again. I'm not doing that. And then a few months later, I'm like, oh, maybe I'll go back again. Maybe. And then I went, you know what? If this stuff comes up again or whatever fears come up again, obviously I need to shift it, because after I went through all that, my life started to profoundly change. I needed to shift those things, right? And then the next time I went back and I just went in with no expectations, going, maybe it'll be traumatic, maybe it'll be joyful. And it was the most amazing experience. And I was re-gifted like all this work I can do with the DNA. And if I hadn't been brave and gone, okay, there's something more to this, and I'm honoring that pull and not afraid of the shadow work, then I wouldn't have got all that, all the gifts again. I wouldn't have been so inspired and joyous and expanded what I wanted to do in the world. And it was just walking through that fear and going, okay, the shadows might come up, but I'm going to embrace them and love them. And that's okay too.
I love that. And it just goes to show the kingdom, the keys to the kingdom are within us. And they're in the places that we don't want to look.
Correct.
They're very cleverly hidden. And that's part of the design. I know you mentioned human design, and we could use that even in a different, the design of the human, where we have these gifts, we have these parts of ourselves that connect us to our divinity and open us up to our gifts, our power, our destiny, our purpose. But they're hidden where we don't want to look, where the least likely place for us to look would be in the places we don't want to acknowledge about ourselves. I've got one of the things I write about in my book is my pride wound. That's kind of the thing that I come up against a lot, where it's like, I can do this myself. I don't need help.
Yep.
And it's like,
yep,
admitting that you're nodding. You're like,
Cara.
yes.
Reflecting me, Cara.
Yeah. It's like, I can do this all by myself. I don't need anybody's help. And it's so hard for me to surrender to, like, people can help me, and that's part of the journey, is letting people help me. And it's something that I keep having to work on, um but I had this whole we can call it a download, but I had like a whole, kind of like you're talking about your breathwork experience, and you kind of like just opened up really fast to a lot all at once. And this was kind of in the hypnagogic state, which is, just for listeners, it's when you're between sleep and awake. So I was absolutely awake, but I was in bed like for the night. And sometimes I'll just have these like quantum experiences where I might literally see the quantum field. Sometimes I've seen it like as a grid, with different coordinates, and it's related also to like where my attention is within my brain or within my body. I might see patterns, moving, geometries. And there was information coming in all at once. And I had this problem that I was trying to resolve. And I mean, just in my regular waking life. And all of a sudden, I got really fast this solution that was I needed to ask this particular person to help me. And it would solve it, not necessarily solve, that's a bit strong, but it would improve things on all these different levels related to not only the solution that I was looking for that immediate problem, but like our relationship would improve, and that person would get the benefit of being able to support somebody. They needed to be able to support somebody from a spiritual perspective because they didn't have like they're not really engaged with their spiritual side in a traditional, like how we would explain it. You know what I mean? Like they're a wonderful person, but just not in touch with their spiritual nature. But it would help them nurture it just by virtue of being part of this. So there were these things like that I had never considered, and it came in all at once. But in order to hit all those amazing peaks, because there were several like peaks of like, oh my God, that could happen. And then that too. And also it does this. It was like this amazing thing. But I had to surrender, and it rubbed against my pride so much that I'm going, okay, I really like all the different ways this can help. But it's also really hard. So that if I didn't do that, what else could I do? It's like, how could I do this still on my own? And maybe still, maybe it ticks a couple of those boxes, but so it was like this whole, beautiful thing. But I had like, in order to access it, I had to go the last place I wanted to go, which was dependence. I had to go to somebody and ask them, I need help. Can you please help me? I know it's an inconvenience for you, and I hate to inconvenience people, but and I knew in my own way that all the ways, and it was a beautiful, beautiful solution. It ticked so many boxes. But in order to have that really holistically beautiful thing, I had to do the hard thing. And there was gold in there, but it was the last place I wanted to look.
It's so funny you say that because at the moment, like I came home 2 months ago and I sat down and I looked at my husband. He's like, "What's wrong?" I said, "I just want to sell everything and get and travel, or just we need to leave here." And so God bless him, he pulled up motorhomes and started looking on the internet, right? And I was like, I don't think it's that, but let's explore that and just see if that's what we want. And then my son was freaking out. No, I don't want to go. So then we started bargaining. We're like, oh, maybe we'll just sell the land that's near the house and just keep the house. And then that wasn't happening. I'm like, no, we need to go. And we had to mourn the dream because we built this house and we're like, we're going to stay here forever. But then the vision shifted. So then our dreams had to shift as well. And it was like this grieving process that we had to let go of these preconceived beliefs like, oh no, we're going to live here forever and we're going to stay here forever. And it was even this guilt my husband went through where he's like, but we said to our son, like, this is it, this is where we're going to live. And I was like, yeah, but life changes and that's okay, and accepting that. So, like you were working through that pride and then we're just seeing what happens. But then when we started to explore like, hey, what happens if we sell our house and we get what they think we're going to get and what we hope to get and what we've asked the universe for, we're like, oh my goodness, we could buy a house with land, we can have a greenhouse, we can do this, we can do this, we can invest, we can, and all of a sudden all these amazing opportunities were going to open up, like you said, that download. And it was all from me coming home with this, like, and it was in my field, right? People kept saying, it must be such an anchor to have like a mortgage like that, or, all these things kept coming up. And I was like, you know what? It is an anchor and I want to fly. I don't want to be tethered to this thing. And it had to let go of that experience of, again, this is what, your life should look like or whatever. And let go of that pride of, yeah, we built this house and we've got, amazing thing. and just go, okay, I don't know where I'm going to end up, but all I know is that we need to leave this and see what happens. And people are like, oh, it could be months before you sell your house. And it's like, the universe is truly kicking us out. Like I went for a walk on our land and the trees were like, you don't belong here anymore. You need to go. You need to go. You need to go. And I was like, thank you for the affirmation and the confirmation as well. I do need to go. It's time to go. So, but if we held on to that pride or that notion of, no, we built this house and we're staying here forever, then we wouldn't have all these opportunities and the chance to explore where that adventure is going to take us.
That's so beautiful. I love that you've gotten that reflection. I mean, because not only did it open it up, just the all the things that you talked about, but you also had all of the universe talking back to you, even the trees who were giving you the signals of like, it's time, we're confirming, we're mirroring back.
Yeah.
It's really powerful.
Yeah. And even to the point where I come home at the moment, but it doesn't feel like home. It's like we've already kind of shifted and we had to energetically break up with the house as well. So if anyone's moving or trying to sell their house and really struggling with it, you need to talk to your house in the land because houses are very reluctant to let go of their energy bonds with you. And, I was having this, it sounds really weird, but I was having this conversation with the house and I'm like, we've got to go, but we love you, we love the energy and we love this, like what you've created. And I was like, I know, but the next people might do that. Or, this is your journey too, but we're not meant to be here anymore, and it was like a breakup. We were breaking up with the house, and, everything has that energy and it's being aware of that too. And I was telling a friend about it. She goes, oh, I just had to do the same thing with my car because she had this car for so long and she was selling it. And she's like, I had to have a conversation with the car, about, okay, our journey together. Thank you so much. I really appreciated all these things, but it's time for me to move on now.
Yeah, I had to do that with my car recently too, because I had it for 8 years
Yeah.
or something. And I was sad to let it go, and I felt, whether I was projecting onto the car or whatnot, but I felt this like a little bit of grief of like, wow, that was a long time we were together, and I'm so grateful to you, and thank you so much, and you know, bless it.
Definitely. I feel like we could talk all day, Cara, but as our time's coming to an end, I ask all my guests if there was something they could heal or change in the world, what would it be?
I love this question. And for me, it would be, again, going back to how we started this conversation with the nature of reality that we live in here on this planet, especially in Western cultures, we're segregated from our spiritual nature, where it's not part of the culture. It's part of you can choose to do that through church or through your own private practice, of whatever your spiritual practices are. But as a mainstream society, we're just gonna like not acknowledge it, maybe even make fun of it as a general rule. And I think that that's actually the root of a lot of our feelings of isolation, of our feelings of not living a purposeful life, is that disconnection where we're really not seeing, everything's kind of stopping at the either at the physical level. Maybe we've become interested in therapy and we understand the role of the mind and the emotions on our physical world, but so many people won't take that leap to consider that they have a soul. And even in my own journey of like learning meditation, which was the beginning of my awakening, that was the last part I was willing to open myself up to. I was willing to meditate, didn't want to pray, didn't want to consider that there was God that was involved in it. It was a very secular, I'm just reducing my stress, I'm regulating my nervous system. And that came later. And now it's such an important part of how I see the world and how I experience the world. And that is where we get back to that feeling of wholeness and connection. And our life kind of shifts and reconfigures so that even if we are in isolation. We don't have a lot of people around us, but we're still feeling that wholeness. We're still feeling nurtured and loved because we understand that we are part of something bigger.
Yeah. And exactly, feeling of you're belonging to something bigger and remembering, I often say we come from nature, we are nature, and remembering that we're all connected and that is so important. As a human, we need that connection. We need that connection with humans. We need that connection with people that raise our vibration as much as lower it. But if they're lowering it, I would say maybe it's time to, shake that off, burn those bridges, So, you want to be really connected with those around you. So if people want to find you, Cara, where's the best place they can find you? Where can they grab your book?
Yes, thank you so much. So my everything is on karagoodwin.com. That's Kara and then Goodwin, as you would expect. You can get a signed, well, for US residents, the continental United States, you can get a signed copy of my book on karagoodwin.com/book. But failing that, it will be on all of the platforms, Amazon and so forth. It'll be everywhere. Um, and then my podcast is Soul Elevation, and you can access every episode at soulelevationpodcast.com. And you'll find me. I'm around.
And as the universe would say, if you're meant to be in someone's radar, you will drop in it. So
Exactly.
I'll put all those links in the show notes for everyone listening as well. And thank you so much for your time, Cara. It's been an absolute delight. Thank you so much.
Thank you, Catherine. I've loved this. Thank you so much.
Thank you for listening to Willow Healing Matters, the podcast. We have so much love and gratitude that you have taken the time out of your day to empower you on your healing journey. The views shared by the person being interviewed might not necessarily reflect that of the host and should be used at your own discernment. Trust what resonates for you and follow your heart and soul guidance. If you have any underlying medical conditions or mental health issues, please consult with your healthcare provider before pursuing any of the recommendations. Likewise, you can always contact the person being interviewed to find out more information. This can be found in the show notes. Remember to activate, align, heal, empower, and find love in everything that you do.